Lakshmi ji, how are you? It's been so long.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. How's Nizara doing?
Yeah, wonderful. She's just getting settled in this meeting. Yeah,
We miss her a lot here.
which keeps us.
So, for the audience, Lakshmi ji is a physics teacher, and since today's topic is how the education has changed over time, I thought why not have her on board for this.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
So, like I said, back in the day, we used to have slates when we started writing. When I was in Parenthood, I started learning to write with a slate and a chalk. But now I don't see many schools following that principle. It's changed and they do writing on sand or writing on water. They have all these new techniques that they've come up with. So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I would say the transformation and the field of education is very remarkable. When I look back, so 10 years, teaching was a central of learning. So she or he is a source of knowledge, and learners are just passive listeners. They confined in the role of just listening and taking notes. Even I remember instances when we were not allowed to share anything in the classroom, which is so rigid education system. But now things have changed. Teachers have moved into the role of, say, a mentor, a guide, a facilitator. So, I believe it's basically into the realization that learning is not one size fits all. Every child is different, their needs are different. So that's one thing. Another thing is that we have a lot of frameworks that are coming up, like inclusive education, different solutions. That's a lot of change in the way we approach education.
Absolutely. Like you said, the kids now are not learning just from the teacher but also from the peers. So just from mere observation of what the other child is doing, we are learning a lot. So what made you get into teaching?
Teaching, right from childhood, I think we all do that.
Teaching ourselves.
Teaching our friends, or learning from our friends, all that, that's been always my passion. So I moved from IP to teaching. So, I wanted to take that because I always like to interact with lively things rather than machines. So, and it's an energy booster to be with the young generation and motivate them. That has always been in my heart.
How is the difference between, since you take physics for the higher classes like 10th, what is the difference between taking care of kids of that age versus like Nitara who's so young right now?
Yeah. So, age, according to age, we have to scale up or scale down. I would say that the way of approaching them is different, but the fundamentals remain the same. Everybody, let that be adolescents, let that be small children, everybody wants the quality time from the teacher. So, if you ask me about my own case, the time that you give to them is really important. For adolescents, yes, you have to match with their wavelength. That is when they open up and they will be open to learning.
So, how do you think the education system has changed in the past 10 years?
Yeah, as I said, a lot of beautiful frameworks are now in the system. As in, for example, we talk about understanding by design. We go backward design. Usually, in lesson plans, what we do is we have a set of objectives and we work on that. How do we attain the objectives? How do we measure the objectives? So now there's just the backward design. What does the child, what is expected out of the child by doing this topic? And we do a backward design. We do assessments first. Then to measure that, what are the activities? It's a wonderful concept. Then we have more of a problem solving approach. Children are now driving the learning. I won't say we are up there, but we are in the process. So that is a discussion mode of learning, or different choices for learning. So that is very good. Every child is a place in education.
So what skills do students need today that the previous generation probably didn't have or didn't need?
Okay, that's a very interesting question because now in the this era of AI, I think the most important skill is digital literacy. Without that, and I think children are very much expert in it. They have this ocean of knowledge they can learn. But having said that, I think responsible use of digital media is very important. That is when the real effect, positive effect comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they should be able to distinguish between what is fact and what is misinformation. So that kind of preparation is very important to use this media very effectively. Another thing is, when you look back, many things that we, our parents or the generation before that they used to do is now automated. But one thing that goes never out of trend is, I would say, creativity and innovation. So that is one thing that children should really have, that originality in their ideas and thoughts. That is very important.
And when I was a kid, I did not know how to use a smartphone because smartphones didn't exist back then.
Right.
But now, today's kids, there are so many things that we get to learn from them.
Right. Yeah, and one more thing is, now I give a problem to a child. They can very well use the chat GPT, but then if you take some time to understand more about their thinking approach, how did they arrive at this solution? That is when you really understand if it was just a copy or if they really understood. Yeah, so you have to take a step ahead because of all this.
So basically, with times, even our teaching has to keep
right, very much.
So, has technology improved the learning outcomes, or has it made it a little more made it a little more easier and also eventually make us lazy?
So that's a very interesting question actually. But I don't have a solid yes or no to it. As I said, responsible use of technology makes all difference. Now with technology, I think learning has become more customized for children. If a child is, especially if I take physics, concepts are very abstract. So this use of simulations in technology, we are able to visually see. Say if I say reflection, he might not even understand, just goes above the head if I just say definition. But then if they really see that visual, that makes an effect. And as I said, digital distractions are equally in trend now. So I don't think any child is ignorant about Roblox or whatever video games. So I think that balance is very important. And technology, if you can integrate it with very strong pedagogy, that will create numbers too.
I guess in every aspect, balance is important. So are exams still the best way to judge how much a child has learned, or should we adapt ourselves to finding new methodologies for that?
I would say exams, in a way, it measures the understanding of the child. It is all there, and of course, it tells us where we are going now. It's also a very standardized tool, I would say, to measure the understanding level of children. But then, learning has much more broader dimensions. Right now in the present area, I would say critical thinking, creativity, or say problem solving. It measures one aspect of learning, but does it cover everything? No. Because really now we are aiming at a holistic development of child.
Yes. So how can schools better support the changing trends?
So I would say changes are always good, but then to bring the change effectively in practice, we should always have a preparation. So when you suddenly say children might be used to having these exams and things. So what I always insist on, what I practice in my teaching is that let's go step by step. Say now we say exams are causing stress for children. So how can we make exams stress-free? So now you don't have to, teacher doesn't have to wait for a midterm or a periodical test to see assess the child's understanding or to inform our practice. You can have daily assessments, let's say crossword or a jumble roll act, to just check the prior knowledge. It is not confined to the smaller children. Even the 10th or 11th, we can just do it. So it's basically to ignite that spark in children to focus. So that's what. So you should do step by step and then eventually get them into the driving seat of learning.
So basically adapt to changes, but gradually
and consistent. That's very important. So
So, what role should parents play in supporting the school in getting about these changes?
Parents, so me being a teacher and a parent of two, I think first and foremost is, you should have see, they come after a tired, long day of, hours spent at school. So, first thing that you should do is, you should give them a very safe environment and more specifically a non-judgmental space where, they are actually waiting for it. Keep telling what all happened and things. But now the problem is parents are very busy. They talk about work stress and this and that, and they compensate it with the villains of students, that is PS, mobiles, whatever, and just for an excuse making them happy. So I have seen children, 7th graders and 6th graders with mobile. I absolutely don't understand the need. So
I got my first mobile when I started my degree. Till then, I never had one.
It's the same for me. So what I'm telling is, quality time is very, very important. That should be given by parents. I'm not talking about how much. It's about the quality that matters. So, I have heard parents talking, especially with 10th grade parents, and off late, man, they're so demanding. But I would say the culprits are unfortunately parents, because they make children get used to these gifts and expensive gifts to get that smile in their face. It's actually spoiling, including me, spoiling them. And after a certain point, what happens is a human tendency to become more and more demanding. So,
and then they have this thing that when earlier I was given all this, why not now?
Why not now? And most importantly, discipline. Now, discipline is a most misjudged term. When we say discipline, we think of military strictness. No, that's not what I mean. It's bringing that consistency in children. If you ask me, I have always given a playtime for my kid. Even before the exam, he has a playtime. So, bringing that time. Just like they have playtime, they should also have study times. Consistency is very, very important.
Kind of like following a routine.
And not deviating from routine is also very important. So actually, mental stress is something which is much spoken about. So I think teachers and parents have a very important role.
So how has the teacher's role changed? What changes have you adapted, or have you seen your peers or your colleagues at school adapt?
Yeah.
And what can give us also some tips?
Yeah. So first important thing is, teachers are continuous learners. You can't be rigid and say that I'm the best teacher. It's not like that. So if you do something good, why not? I can also implement. So first thing is collaboration. You should have discussion with your peers and just have observation classes so that you get to know more and more ideas. So that's one thing. Another thing is, now we have to cope up, or we have to be with the trends. To communicate well with the present generation, you should be updated with the present skills, the 21st century skills. You can't just be a conventional teacher and say that you are really doing well in your college. No, absolutely not. Yeah. So things are changing. First thing is the reflection. That is prerequisite for teaching. Where did I go wrong? How can I improve? I think this is constantly required. In teaching. So I'm also learning at school. Yeah.
And how stressful are these exam times for a teacher? Because we always talk about how stressed the parents are or the kids are, but the teacher is also equally stressed because she's making the question paper, she's making sure her kids perform, then comes the correction, and suppose a child doesn't perform, breaking that news to that child is a little disheartening for the teacher as well.
Yeah. That's right. So there is a step-by-step, a systematic approach that we have to take it up. That's why I told you, we should not just wait for the exam to understand what are the learning gaps of the child. And that informs our teaching methods also. Say, for example, you might be very good at writing. I might be very good at speaking. Some might be very good at, acting, role play time. So, I'm giving choices to children. Before this, the so-called summativas, the midterm or that thing. So, what happens is that gives child a confidence to understand where am I going wrong I'm not that bad, but I think I have to improve it. So you're not allowing the child to go down in their confidence level, but making them aware and where are you doing that. So
How I can help.
how can I tell you? Rather than just giving a test and say the child gets 2 out of 10, you're literally telling you're not fit to, So that's not the way to explore. It's a very systematic approach to it. And progress should start from day one of learning and teaching. So I think, that's very important.
What barriers are still existing, like in schools today, that is stopping them from changing and adapting to these new technologies?
I think, first of all, we need teachers. Honestly, teachers, what I mean is teachers who are adaptable to change. And that is very important. Now, for that, what I feel is schools should provide more and more, workshops and professional skills for teachers so that they are aware, okay, this is happening. Now, when I'm doing a course right now, I'm understanding, okay, whatever I'm doing is outdated because there are much more innovative methods. So that's one thing, getting our teachers updated with the current status. That makes their work easy. That's very important. So that is one important thing that is there. Another thing is, there are barriers, like for example, economic barriers. Now I can see, there are villages, even now they don't have access to schools and things. So it does improve it, but then there's a long way to go. Accessibility of education is still something we are doing.
So, how can parents support learning without putting too much excessive pressure on the students?
Okay. First and foremost, not compare it. Each child is different. They have different interests. So, we should always, as parents, we should encourage children to progress individually. From what you wear, how much can you do? That is enough. Others scoring is not our business. We should individually work on that. Takes away most of the stress. Yeah, I think parents are all over the way. We always tell my neighbor's child got this much. So that's all required. First thing. Second thing, as I said, consistency. That is a misconception that brings stress in children. That will always without the stress. So every day they can learn. I always tell my children, every day 1 hour of learning is enough for
rather than cramming everything.
Because so that's very important.
And thank you so much, Lakshmiji. It was really nice chatting with you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share whatever.
It means a lot for us.